And we're off and running, and so is your novel. And about this time in your book, you're going, what voice do I want to write this in? How did this get so challenging? And am I making the right choices? If you're asking those questions about how to make your voice strong and poppy, and you want to be able to catch other people's attention, stay with us on this episode where we explore voice and how to make it stronger. I'm Morgan.
This is Molly.
And I'm Teresa.
And we're the semi-sages of the pages, and we are writing a book and doing a series about helping you take your dream idea and turn it into your dream novel, one brilliant page at a time. We are in the blueprint phase, which is where we get to lay out our novel. And one of the most important parts of laying out the novel is voice. So today we're going to offer you 3 tips about making your voice stronger. And as Molly just showed you, make your voice sing. I love it. Make your voice sing off the pages. So, or make it strong. So it holds up your novel, keeps the tempo going, and makes it fun and interesting. So take us away, Molly. What's our first thing about voice that we want to talk about when analyzing if our voice can really hold our audience's attention?
Sure. So the first thing we want to talk about is, we've mentioned this multiple times. I think Teresa said it best with, there are no new ideas. What's new is how we tell them. And that is in our voice. And the great news is we all have voices. We all have it intrinsically. It can be hard to kind of nail down though at times because we sometimes talk differently to different groups of people. The way I talk here is very different than the way I talk to my husband or the way I talk to my pets or the way I might talk to my boss. And Morgan mentioned that's called code changing. So it can be hard to like nail down our voice and feel like, oh, what is this nebulous thing? But one place to start is you have it. Don't worry. And, it's important to know the genre expectations for where you're writing. Different genres will expect different types of voices, and there is play in there, certainly. There's certainly room for growth and change and a window of operation. But knowing what is expected, will help you kind of center yourself in terms of, okay, how do I fit in here? How can I make my voice adapt to this environment?
So I like to think of it like if you're sitting around the campfire and you're telling a scary story, you're going to change the timbre of your voice and the tone, and you're going to kind of create an airy, ooh, and you're going to use your dramatic pauses a little bit longer because literally the way you're using your voice in that setting is creating an ambiance, right? But if I'm trying to get my student to pay attention to me, I might speak a little faster. I might snap. I might tap on the desk. I might use a little curt, more precise, maybe even more irritated tone so that they understand. So when you're writing your novel, just thinking about how you want them to feel. That's what Molly's talking about with genre. What's the feel or the setting of that? And then how literally, what kind of music would you hear? And then how does the word choice fit in harmony with the senses that you want to kind of wrap around them as they experience your story?
Ooh, that's good.
And I'm sure Morgan's going to talk more about this, but the execution of this is in the small details and the small choices you make. It's in, do you have short sentences or do you have these long lyrical sentences that go on and use big extraneous words and you just can't find the end of them and they draw you in like a flowing river on and on and on? Or do you just go and you go and you go? And all of these things, the word choices that you make, the stories you decide, the anecdotes you tell, the metaphors you use, that's all choices that affect your voice.
Okay, guys. So I'm sold, but I don't know what voice I write in. I just write. So how do I figure that out? How do I get better at this?
So start with your English teacher's advice, which was great advice. 2 things they taught you was write what you know, because you don't want it to be generic. So if you say the girl woke up in the morning, it's very, very generic. But if you say the tangles in her hair matted against her forehead, clogging her eyes. She tore at her hair, unable to see as she clawed out of bed. That's a completely different image than just getting out of bed. Or if you mention the smell of ammonia made her take her blanket and cover her nose, you know. So now you're putting us in a scene. You're using your senses. So first, you want to write from your experience. Do you know what ammonia smells like? Do you know how it burns your throat and, you know, your chest and your eyes, so that you're invoking what you've actually lived? But then to invoke what you've lived, use your senses. Is that blanket stiff? Is it urine stained? Is it clean and silky? Just those little details really transport you to a specific setting and a specific character and a specific place. And that's where your voice is created. And then also being careful not to do all long sentences or all short sentences, to kind of change that up. So if action and comedy would take short, small, pithy sentences, fighting would take short, small, pithy sentences, but description of a beautiful sunset or romance, those are going to be longer, more fluffy, drawn out. Be careful of purple prose, but they're going to be more drawn out sentences. So using both and finding what you're good at is a great place to start, I think.
That's good advice. I like that too. Molly, what else can they do?
Another thing to consider, we talked about word choice, we talk about the details. We talk about, you know, your sentence structure, your sentence length. This is all really important parts of voice or style. Another thing, which I think is fun, and it depends on the genre you're in, right, is let your characters have opinions. And let your point of view character have opinions about things. And it's oftentimes when someone talks about, oh, the voice feels fresh or something like that, kind of that's code for funny. Not all the time, but oftentimes it's code for funny. And oftentimes it's code for the main character had opinions. So it's not always, but just something to experiment and try, depending on your genre, depending on what you're comfortable with. And Morgan, you had another great tip for people on, you know, a concrete things to do for their voice.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that how great that is, because if you have them have opinions at the beginning and get into like tension fights with other people, you also create a more active protagonist, which is a deeper plot problem that you would be solving just by. So I love that, having secrets and opinions and using those to motivate dialogue. So I just wanted to hang a hat on like how wonderful that is. So I'm a person who has a difficult time with voice. And the reason I would tell you that is people say, oh, just write what you think or who you are. And I code switch very well, like too well. So I can hear different versions of anything in my head that I feel are authentically me. So I can write in third person, past tense literary fiction, and I'm very comfortable in that. I'm very comfortable in first person, present tense suspense. I love middle grade. So I think you know, if you're a person like me and you're like, I don't know, I read lots of genres, I like lots of different voices, I'm not sure what is authentically me. I have a story to tell, but sometimes I have a difficult time with grammar, or I don't know what my voice is. So here's an idea of how you can find your voice. So just like if you're learning to paint, you might take different painters and mimic their styles and then see, oh, I'm an impressionist. You could do this, or, you know, or I'm a surrealist. You could do the same kind of thing. You can read a passage from one of your, you know, Sarah J. Maas, for example, and then say like, ooh, can I write a scene in her style, if that's who you really like? Or if you're a really big fan of Nora Roberts, maybe you do the same kind of thing, or James Patterson, same kind of thing. Or maybe if you read, you know, the classics, you want to do something like Shakespeare-esque and kind of feel what is fun for you to do. If you start trying to mimic a style and it's not fun, then throw it away and try someone else. You know, if it doesn't appeal to you as a reader and a writer, then I would say don't try that, but it could be really fun. And while you're doing it, Molly, add.
Oh, I was going to say, for this exercise, we might recommend try to write the scene that Morgan was talking about earlier. Someone gets out of bed. And do it for each of these styles that you're interested in, and see where it takes you. Same type of scene, maybe the same thing, you know, technically happens in the scene, but what kind of different moods or voice can you evoke just trying different things with it?
make sure to try present tense, past tense. Make sure to try, first person, third person, just to see how it feels and like what you connect with. And some tenses you'll find the words will just flow.
Mhm.
And other tenses you'll just lock up. And different people have different connections with that.
Good advice. I like it. I like it. I like that we've got an activity that we're giving them.
Giving us, because I got to do it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Giving ourselves
Absolutely.
homework.
Nothing wrong with homework.
Which
All right.
means we get to go right.
Right, exactly. So why are you still here? Go right. And don't forget to subscribe, join us on our Discord, and then stop watching. Go get some words on your paper.
But if you learn what your voice is or have questions about voice, ask us in our chat or find us on Discord, because we'd love to know more about your voice journey, and we'd love advice about how to make your voice, go back to Molly, sing. Now you have to do the gesture.
That's awesome. Bye now.
Bye.
Take care.